Welcome to episode 144 of Beyond the Brick. I'm Joshua Hanlon.
And I'm Matthew Kay.
And this episode of Beyond the Brick is brought to you by BrickMania.com. And the World War Brickmania event in Anaheim, California is taking place February 13th through the 15th. So there's going to be a really cool event there. If you're in the Anaheim area, I definitely encourage you to check out this event. It should be really awesome. A lot of really cool World War II, World War I, all sorts of war-related models going on there at the World War Brick event in Brickmania in Anaheim. So I'll put a link to that in the description in this video, and you can check that out if you're in the Anaheim area and check out their event. Now, joining us on the show today, we're very happy to have Tim Inman. He is 33 years old, and he is a member of several lugs, including Lugola, OC Lug, Sand Lug, and LUGNUTs. So, Tim, it's really appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
All right, thanks for having me.
So, if you just want to start off by telling us a little of your history in the LEGO community, kind of when you first started building and how you got into the online community.
Well, my dad first got me into LEGO way back when I was maybe 3 or 4. Played with it a bit in not high school, but elementary school, and then, of course, my dark ages, like everyone, or almost everyone has in junior high and high school. I discovered the fan community probably 6 or 7 years ago from Lugola, and then worked my way onto Flickr, and gradually kind of networked, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm. So Flickr was your main, has that always been your main photo sharing site, or have you ever used mock pages or anything like that?
I started out on mock pages. I just got a little frustrated with it, and I decided to migrate over to Flickr.
Understandable.
Were there a few inspirational builders that you first found, or does anybody stick out in your mind when you first joined the online community as somebody that you started following early on?
It's been 7 years. Probably really aren't any. I mean, I imagine there are some, but I just can't remember them offhand.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm sure there are a few at least that when you first got in the community, you probably started looking at their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you're mostly I think it'd be right to say you're mostly like a building architecture and car builder is most of what you build. Where do you find most of your inspiration for those types of builds? Is that just you're interested in that type of stuff in real life, or where does that come from?
Yeah, I like architecture. I'm also a car guy, so I have a car that I work on the side. Inspiration, if I see a building I like, I'll try and find pictures of it online, then use those for reference to build the building. I've found inspiration from video games, maybe take little bits of buildings and incorporate them in my own design. As far as cars go, I'll just find a picture online while maybe browsing articles during my lunch break at work and find a car that strikes my fancy, and then I'll just find a way to work it into a LUGNUTs challenge.
Okay. And you mentioned LUGNUTs there, so that's something I definitely wanted to make sure we talked about. That's kind of, for people who aren't familiar with it, if you want to give a quick synopsis of what LUGNUTs is and kind of some of the builds that are in that.
LUGNUTs, we're an online community, I guess you could say. We're on Flickr. We have monthly build challenges. I'm one of the moderators of the group. Our admins are Nathan Proudlove and Lino Martins. Every month we have a brand new challenge. It can be a vehicle from United Kingdom, or it could be a vehicle from the United States, or just some other aspect, maybe vehicles related to food. And I mean, the lug's been active for, I guess you can call it a lug, been active for 5 or 6 years now, and we have never replicated or duplicated a challenge. We've found a new challenge every month.
Mm-hmm. And that is really impressive. I'm always amazed the challenges that you guys can come up with each month. And then I mentioned to this before we started the show, the monthly wrap-ups that Lino writes each month are really good too. For if you're a fan of Lego cars at all, you should definitely check out the blog. I'll put a link to that in the description so you can check that out, where he does the monthly wrap-ups and kind of goes over all the builds that were in each challenge each month. So there's some really cool stuff there, and
yeah,
I'm sure, Tim, your cars are featured. Do you try to get one in at least every month?
Yeah, I try to do one every month or almost every month. sometimes I might squeak out 2 a month. Other times I may just skip the month for whatever reason, for other personal issues or I don't know, projects around the house, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but try to get something in as frequently as possible, so that's cool. Do you have any favorites that stick out in your mind over the year? I know you've been doing it for 5 or 6 years at least now. Is there any one that sticks out in your mind as something that was a really interesting build that you've done for those challenges?
For those challenges, I like doing the vehicles from Duel, big semi-truck. This was Steven Spielberg's first movie way back in 1971. It was a big, gnarly brown semi-truck, and it chased Dennis Weaver, but he chased him across the California desert, and it was a suspense thriller kind of. It was a really great movie. That was a fun one to do, and then I also did a semi-truck from Maximum Overdrive, which was a Stephen King movie, and it was basically the premise of the movie was everyday machines that come to life and start terrorizing human beings, and that truck was a big from a toy company, and it had a big Joker face in the front. And that one was a really fun build to do.
Okay. Yeah, so I remember seeing some of those semi-trucks you mentioned in your Flickr feed. Those were really cool. So I can imagine those are pretty fun builds to do.
Yeah.
And a few of the builds, if you notice behind Tim there, he's got some builds displayed behind him there. A few that we wanted to make sure we talked about. The first one is the little Steampunk Jeep that he has sitting behind him there. Is that sturdy enough to pick up there, Tim? Or
yeah.
Okay. You can pick it up there.
Nope, almost sturdy enough. Or not.
Whoops.
Not.
Okay. Sorry if we just caused it to
no biggie.
topple apart.
It'll go back together.
Anyway, if you want to tell us a little bit about that build, I can pull a photo up here, but that is a really cool build there.
That one, it was, that challenge was a steampunk build, so it was one that Lino kind of worked with Guy Himber to do, or to put together, and you basically just either build your own steampunk vehicle of your own design or make a steampunk version of an existing vehicle, and I chose to do a steampunk version of what's called a Jeep Forward Control. It's a vehicle from the 1950s and 60s, and I got inspiration from that from a vehicle that was featured at the SEMA show this year.
Okay. Very nice, and there's some definitely instantly recognizable steampunk. You've got the nice brown and tan colors, the cool treads on there. Was there any part that was particularly hard when you were building this?
Trying to figure out the shape of the cab with what limited parts there are in brown. I was able to get it to work out with what I had, and I'm pretty happy with the overall result.
Okay, yeah, I think it turned out really great, and I hope it's not too fragile there as long as you just tried to pick it up. I look like you should be able to fix that without too much trouble, hopefully. But
yeah, it'll go together relatively quick.
That's good. Were any of these parts hard to find? You mentioned the brown limited palette and everything there. Is there anything that was real hard to find in this?
This one I lucked out, and I was pretty much I had everything on hand. I didn't have to make any brick link orders or anything for it, so I just dug through what I had, and I lucked out.
Okay, so yeah, I think that worked out, and it's a really cool build. I like I've always been a big steampunk fan. So, do you have any plans to build more steampunk? I think this was kind of one of your only builds you've done in that.
No immediate plans, but who knows what the future holds.
You never know. Might come up with something new if something catches your eye for a cool steampunk build.
Yeah.
And a couple of the other builds we wanted to talk about some more you've got behind you there. The first one is that kind of green and tan build you've got there. I believe that's a Frank Lloyd Wright building. Is that correct?
Yes. It is his only skyscraper. It's located in Oklahoma, and that one I finished last year. It took me about 2 months to build. Now, it's not all of it. I've got more structure from around the base that's stored in boxes. But that's the main tower of the project or the building.
Okay.
Is that sand green that I see on the?
Yes, lots of sand green.
So yeah, that makes it even cooler with all the sand green there. And it looks like that's definitely not a a normal type of building shape. What were some of the techniques you had to use to get it like that?
I had to use a lot of hinge plates to get the little protrusions from the side, the little bulges. I used a lot of snot for one corner has some vertical, I guess, facade aspects to it, and I had to do that using tiles on their side.
Okay.
But it doesn't sit squarely on the base. It sits at maybe a 45-degree angle to the base, and it's really only connected with a couple studs. But it is self-standing, so.
So still pretty strong.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. I mean, it just vertically it's fine. It's just no lateral play to it much per se.
Now, when you build a building of that scale, how much do you think about modularity? Like the ability for it to easily be transported to, like, say, a convention.
Basically, it's what fits in my car and what fits through doorways. The tower separates into two pieces. The base comes apart in three pieces because the base is a total of 9 base plates, so 96 by 96 studs. And that comes apart into one 64 by 64 stud section, which is the main tower. And then the rest of it is two pieces that come apart also.
So I think those are pretty good constraints then. If you can get it through the door, and if you can get it in your car, you're good. Awesome.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you transport these buildings, obviously you've got a fair amount of architecture buildings you've built over the years, and do you try to keep most of those together once they're built so you can display them at conventions and stuff?
Yeah, pretty much everything I've built over the last 4 or 5 years or so in terms of skyscrapers is intact. There are a couple that I took down because I was tired of rebuilding, but for the most part they are still intact, and I display them at the local train club displays and bring them up to Bricks by the Bay and BrickCon also.
So I don't know if this is maybe a little bit too much of like a personal territory to go into, but it kind of begs an interesting question, like how much of your brick is tied up in these skyscrapers, and do you kind of have to like acquire brick on demand for certain projects, or are you kind of work with a running inventory?
It depends on the project. I have a good amount of, or a pretty good sized collection. Not the biggest by any means, but it's still a pretty good sized collection. A lot of times I'll end up recycling brick. I did some for the Frank Lloyd Wright building. I tore apart a couple of other buildings and put the brick into that, and I just try not to build too big because I do have monetary constraints. So I mean, I'll skip, like, the actual building is 16 floors, and I only made it 14 floors, so I save a little bit of money that way.
Sure. And you do hold true to most of the time, like a larger scale than. I know a lot of people building, skyscrapers that are a minifig scale. They kind of do that Disneyland-like effect of the first floor being, full scale, and then after that it gets progressively smaller. Do you find yourself doing that for a lot of the buildings to kind of ratchet down?
All of my buildings are regular minifig scale, so each floor is about 6 or 7 bricks tall.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. No cutting corners.
Aside from scaling it down to no.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you noticed that too. I think it adds that little extra flair to make the buildings look even better when you have all the full-size floors and it doesn't slowly get smaller and smaller as you go up.
Sure.
So yeah, it definitely looks good. And another building that I wanted to make sure we talked about here is the Heron Building, and this is one that you mentioned was kind of one of your favorite buildings that you've built over the years. What makes this one stand out to you?
It was a fun build. There's a lot of old architectural details that I had to try and figure out. It was my first really large-scale build. There's probably about 15,000 pieces in it. All the brick-built windows and everything also. And it's based off of a building in downtown Los Angeles.
Okay, so is this a replica of the building, or just kind of based off?
It's not an exact replica. I had to add a third. It's a corner building or a lot. It's on a corner lot, I guess you could say. So there's really only two sides to it. But I made a third side to it, and then I made a back to it also, trying to make it a full building instead of just a facade.
Okay,
but the main architectural details, like the arches and the details around the work, are true to the actual building.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting building. I know you got the front showing here, and then in the back is kind of like a parking lot area. Is that right? And
Yeah. I kind of winged it a little bit on that. Because you can't. There's no real back to the building. I guess you can say there's no parking lot in back. I just got an idea of the basic shape of the building and then went from there.
Mm-hmm. And with this being so big, when you build something of this size, where do you source the bricks from usually?
This one, I had all of the gray brick on the back in my collection. I just took apart several small buildings and used that. The medium dark flesh brick, or the nougat brick, I sourced that through that special program that the AFOs get to use.
Okay, very nice. Yeah.
Lug bolt. Sorry, my throat.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, so allegedly, and this is the most recent official communication from LEGO's community events and engagement team, one can speak about that which shall be speaked about, lug bolt, but the one thing we can't discuss publicly, and even amongst different lug bolt groups, is pricing. So, I don't know, Tim, would you be willing to maybe describe lug bolt as a program, just to kind of put that out there?
It's a special program that LEGO offers to the fan community that we have to meet certain qualifications for.
Stringent qualifications, yes.
Yes, very stringent. And it's an opportunity for us to get, I guess you could say, brick at a slightly less or slightly lower price than what it would be on the open market, and an opportunity to get larger quantities than would be readily available on the open market.
Yep, that's it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it helps out the builders, especially like we were saying with the big building like the one we were just talking about.
Yeah.
When you need a lot of brick in one color or something, it's a really nice program to have.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
When sometimes bricklink sellers just don't have enough of a certain brick for when you need it, but so
in a great situation, when you might want to, say use a program like Lug Bolt, if you want to build like a massive sand green skyscraper.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome for things like that. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and you say, what is Lug Bulk, and what is a lug, and there's wonderful resources. If you type in lan.lego.com, that's LAN.lego.com, you'll be guided to numerous resources that you can use to leverage your interest in the Lego brick, to just increase your engagement, as it were, in the fan community. So lots of cool options and stuff out there. And Tim, you're definitely using these wonderful, wonderful opportunities to their fullest. So,
thank you.
Yeah, that's what helps build some of these really cool buildings. And so we've talked about a few of your skyscrapers and some of the buildings you've built. Do you have any other big projects like that planned for the future, or any other cars? Or
I've got a couple cars planned. I've got another building that's in the works. I don't know when that's going to be finished, and there's countless ideas rattling around in my head. So, plenty more to see in the future.
All sorts of ideas working on there. Lots of stuff coming up. What is the current? There's a current LUGNUTs competition going on right now? What is the theme of that? Do you know?
January challenge is Rivals, and it's based off, or it has to do with two rival car clubs, and they each have their own unique color scheme, and you can basically build any vehicle you want to, as long as it fits in that color scheme. So I'm building I guess I could say it's a Power Functions remote-controlled truck, and it's going to be yellow, black, and dark gray when it's done, and it should be done in the next couple days or so.
Okay, awesome. So that should be really neat. Have there been some entries in that already? That you've seen people popping up with some builds for that?
I haven't been on Flickr all that much in the last couple days. I imagine Peter Blackert's probably contributed 30 or 40 by now. It's getting towards the end of the month, so we should start seeing a lot more entries because it takes people time to build. So
yeah, people finishing up builds, but should see some cool stuff there. So that'll always be nice. Now, do you have any conventions planned for this year? Anything coming up, or any smaller maybe lug shows that you'll be displaying at?
I unfortunately have to sit out the lugs this year, or the cons this year. I imagine our train club will probably have a show in April or May for the Fullerton Railroad Days in Orange County, California. Other than that, there's not too much they're planning on going to. So.
But a few shows at least, so people can make it out to those, maybe see some of your works in person if they're in the area whenever those shows are going on. What's the your main conventions? I think is it Bricks by the Bay and BrickCon are kind of the two you've made it to for the last 4 or 5 years or something?
Yeah, those are the two conventions that I go to.
So the main ones that if people want to see your buildings or cars or any of the other work you've done in person, those are the main two to make it to check that stuff out.
Yep.
So yeah, those should be some cool shows as well this year. And do you have any interesting or funny stories that stick out to you from the years you've been going to conventions, or any really cool anything the public has said to you or anything like that?
I mean, there's the unsanctioned event that happens at BrickCon every year. That's usually a lot of fun. It's 21 and over. That's usually a good time, or at least fun to watch, anyways. Last couple years, we've been getting into playing Cards Against Humanity, and that's been a lot of fun. We usually play at least 3 or 4 games each convention.
Yeah, that's I know been popular. Like you said, it seems like the last couple of years at a lot of conventions. So I think that the Cards Against Humanity is taking over the Lego scene in a lot of Lego conventions now. But
I think soon they'll be meaning like it's not a Lego convention; it's just a Cards Against Humanity, playing gathering or something. Very popular game at Lego convention.
Yeah, lots of people getting together to play with that. So I think to kind of finish the show out for us tonight, is there any one of your any Lego set that you have seen over the years, or any Lego set that you would like the Lego company to make as an official set, kind of a dream set that you've always wanted? Anything come to mind, like building or car, maybe?
There's none that I can really think of offhand. I mean, imagine there's plenty that I'd love to see as sets, but I just can't think of any offhand.
Do you wish that Lego would come out with like large-scale skyscraper kits or something like that? Would that be cool?
That'd be cool, but I imagine it'd probably be really expensive.
Yeah, $2,000. Yeah, you too can build minifigs.
Probably wouldn't be much of a market for those.
yeah, maybe not so much.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they probably brought back a model team. That was a fun theme. They kind of have with like the Mini Cooper and the Volkswagen bus, but it'd be kind of cool to see that theme come back.
You ever think? I reminisce about was it the Darth Maul like sculpture bust set? You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that set.
And then the Statue of Liberty, those kind of sculptural builds, those were cool. I don't know, something along those lines.
Yeah, those were cool sets.
Throwing that out there. Cool sets. Lego Direct, golden days.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe $1,000 skyscraper set might make it a little easier into the market, but I think even that would be pushing it. I don't know if we'll ever
Yeah.
see anything like that. But they do it. They have released several variations on all sorts of cars over the years, Technic theme and stuff. Do you have any particular favorites from the car related themes they've had over the years?
I really like the Mini Cooper set that's available now.
Okay.
It's a great kit, a lot of fun building techniques, and it's of course dark green. So
It's one of the favorite colors we can tell from the different buildings and things here.
yeah, and I have an affinity for the I guess rarer colors, you can say, like the sand green or the medium dark flesh. Always is something different than the usual grays or blacks or blues or reds.
Hmm. And do you have any favorite fan created model? Is there any fan that you followed for a few years maybe, and you have a particular favorite build from anyone?
One that pops out in my head is the Rivendell build from Alice Finch and David Frank.
Oh yeah.
Go along
Okay.
with that.
I've seen it a couple times now. I saw it at BrickCon and Bricks by the Bay, and it's just amazing to look at. All the different details and all the different colors. It's just amazing.
And so, how would you describe the difference between? Because obviously, we've all seen some photos and stuff. How would you describe the difference between looking at it in a picture and seeing it in real life?
I'm seeing it in a picture. I mean, you just can't really appreciate it. It's just there's so much going on all at the same time as different little scenes within the build itself. Like the horses running through the river, or like the hobbits walking through the Rivendell. It's just amazing.
Sure. Yeah, I can totally see it. There is so much going on there. Really, it's like unreal. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's such a massive build too. I don't remember the exact dimensions, but I think I want to say it was like, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 feet or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's about 5 feet by about 15 feet, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I mean, it just so much packed into there, and it's
Yeah.
incredible. When to see that. Yeah, I've never seen it in person. I would love to see that build in person someday, but the photos are very cool to look at of that as well. So good things always happen when Alice and David are building together.
Yeah.
A lot of awesome builds there. So I think that about wraps it up for us tonight, Tim. It was great talking to you and hearing about some of your builds over the years and some of your favorite builders and where you get inspiration from. Appreciate you talking with us tonight.
All right. Thanks for having me.
And I'll make sure to put a link to all the builds we talked about in the description of this video so people can check that out and start following you on Flickr. And make sure you start keep up to date on the LUGNUTs challenges each month. You can start seeing some cool car builds there, and maybe add yourself to Lino's readership on the monthly wrap-ups that he does as
he's
well.
always looking for more readers.
Doing whatever he can to get more readers. So we'll hopefully help him out with that. I'll make sure to put a link to the website in the description as well here. And I'd encourage you to check out the Brick Builders Club at brickbuildersclub.com to start receiving your monthly box of really cool LEGO content such as custom LEGO stickers, custom pieces, LEGO shirts, all sorts of awesome stuff. That's brickbuildersclub.com. And we appreciate everyone watching out there. We'll see you next week.